that want to propose interim topics to us and our own members. And so the chairman and I think we would use this time until 2 o'clock or just before, maybe 10 minutes till, to hear from the public and members that are proposing topics. And then instead of trying to debate the topics and rank them high and low, we do what we did last year, which would be to maybe have everybody leave and submit a form with their top 5 topics, 6 or whatever, you know, and then we'd work off that ranking. I'm hopeful that there will be topics that'll work towards being put together, you know, might be topics in the same area, little different pieces of it, and we can kind of group those. So with that, I know that there's at least one agency here to talk to us who has an open meeting coming up. And so they're required to be at the open meeting, and that would be the Public Service Commission. So with that, could we hear from the Public Service Commission about your proposals? And then we'll go back and just take them in order on the deal.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'm Mike Robinson. I'm the chairman of the Wyoming Public Service Commission. With me is John Burbridge, chief counsel for the commission.
Welcome.
We have 2 proposed interim topics beginning on page 4. The first is an educational 1-hour session on small water utilities. And, you know, we face some serious issues relating to water utilities, most of which are very small. And, you know, they do face environmental regulations, particularly water quality. And, you know, they also have trouble gaining access to capital, and which makes it difficult sometimes for them to comply with water quality requirements. And it also makes it difficult for them to raise funds to maintain and improve their systems. A lot of these systems, because of that, face major maintenance issues going forward. And so we would just like to have a conversation with the committee about those issues and then see what develops from that.
Okay. Any questions for the chairman? What else you got?
The other issue we have relates to civil penalties for pipeline safety violations. These relate to Wyoming Statute 37-2-128, which provides a maximum penalty of $100,000 daily, and then a maximum total of $1 million. Those are currently significantly different than what the federal government authorizes at about $270,000 daily and $2.7 million total. The PHMSA, the federal agency that regulates pipeline safety, has told us that this divergence between penalties could put us in non-compliance and put some of our funding and primacy at issue.
And those penalties are statutory?
Yes.
Okay. Questions? Any questions? Anything else you got?
That's it.
Well, you guys
Thank
get
you.
over there and get to work.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very
Members of
much.
the committee.
All right. I'm lacking a better idea. I'm just going to go start at the top of the list. Is that okay? Proposed interim topic, tax exemptions reporting requirement, Representative Gary Brown. And you could do it from up there. That's just faster.
Mr. Chairman, I had inadvertently put that on corporations. I'd like to move that to revenue.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you. I think we can do that. Representative Campbell, Fire Protection Districts. Welcome. Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, and committee, thank you so much for giving this topic consideration. So this comes from the Natrona County Fire Protection District, but actually comes from all of our fire protection districts. So worked with a bill that didn't make it very far this year. So hopefully this will just be a continuation of that conversation. Appreciating that the joint committees during the interim have the time to invest in really looking at this issue and getting input from the stakeholders and the public. So what I would request is that we look at, in terms of stability, especially with our fire protection districts, how do we ensure financial stability? when they are completely and wholly dependent on mill levies. So whether that's giving counties more authority, more flexibility, more, I don't know what that looks like, but really figuring out what is the best way forward to ensure stable revenue streams. One of the conversation options that did come up was looking at our emergency medical service districts and our our fire protection districts, and actually giving the county the option to combine those. So you have an EMS and fire protection districts. And so perhaps there is one board that oversees both. And then we have a combining of those mill levies. So it might be a total of 7 mills to work within. Combining those, it might be a more effective, more efficient use of resources, and then would give counties the flexibility to best meet the needs of their district. But I know for Natrona County and for other fire protection districts, yeah, we're going to be in trouble and lose some of our stations, our ability to staff those and cover those unincorporated areas. So wanted to hand that over to you and ask that you consider this as an interim topic and perhaps come up with a way that we can move forward.
Thank you, Representative Campbell. Any questions for Representative Campbell? Thank you very much. Next one on the list, I've got this one. It's public records and meetings. Just to continue on our work last year. I don't know if you felt that we should continue down that road or not, but that's what it is. We spent more time on the records part than the meetings part. I don't know if you have a desire to move more into meetings, but that's the topic. And if anybody else wants to address that topic, they certainly can. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions. Be to continue the work that we did. Of course, the bill was very popular when we got done. And there was a little bit of a Hail Mary pass at our last meeting. But do you have the appetite to take that on again? Okay, the next one is, I don't know why I'm doubling up here, but to increase the corporate filing fees. These are the fees that corporations pay to use Wyoming's law through the Secretary of State's office. Our fees are very low. And I think that we might be able to have some room to increase them, which would be good for our revenues, but it also might have a beneficial effect of perhaps discouraging people that are just looking for the bottom. So that would be the proposal. Anybody that'd like to weigh in on that or weigh on it at a different time in this meeting is fine. Just throwing that out there. The next meeting are the CPAs here? Certified Public Accountants? Are they here? Okay, the next one is, it's under my name, but it's the Certified Public Accountants. They have a legislation called Pathways. And what they're hoping to achieve, and they've traditionally had their practice act in this committee. It's been a few years since we did it, but the trend with I'll probably screw this all up in a way, but the trend for the certified public accountancy profession has been to have more years of schooling and kind of making it harder to get a degree and then, of course, a very rigorous test to get your CPA. This Pathways legislation kind of goes the other direction a little bit. It lets you have a little bit less experience and a little less schooling and a little more experience to be able to stand and take the CPA. And so that's what they're proposing to do. The reason they're bringing it, as it was explained to me, is there's a very big shortage of CPAs. And as there's fewer and fewer going in the profession, there's much need. This might be a way to make it easier for people to attain their CPA and still maintain very high standards and quality. They'd like to come to us. It's kind of one of those things when a board and commission has nowhere else to go, we're the committee. So I'd hope we would take that up. Shouldn't be a heavy lift because they'll do all the work. Propose interim topic, annexation into community college. Anybody want to address this? Did I see? Yes, ma'am. Welcome. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Laurel Ballard, I'm the Executive Director of the Community College Commission,
Welcome.
and I'm just bringing this on behalf of the colleges. We have some colleges that have areas where they're starting to expand and put more services, more facilities, things like that into some of these areas. And they're looking at how, whether or not we have some communities that may be willing to be annexed in and with the property taxes and things like that. But there's some questions then, probably some need to modernize the statute, Wyoming statute 21-18-310 to make sure that they can be able to be able to annex those for communities if communities are interested. And there's questions, I think, around, if they annex a community and they have property tax, let's say of $500,000, what does that do when they have to have when we have statutes that say they have to have 4 mills to receive funding and some of those kinds of things. And so that's kind of what request is coming out of, to be able to look at some of those kinds of things.
Okay. Thank you. And I think it, at least in part, relates to Central Wyoming College, which everybody has satellite operations in Teton County, but doesn't receive mill levy taxes in Teton County. And yet, if they were to receive the full amount of the mill levy, that would be an enormous amount of money. And there's no way in statute to actually do it for less, and when less might work very well. So I don't know if anybody else has similar problems, issues, but it's a way for these districts to be able to grow in a sensible way. I hope I've done that well, Ms. Ballard.
Mr. Chairman, you probably said it better than I did. And in reality, we also have Gillette College that'll be likely to have accreditation sometime towards the end of 2027. And there may be requests that we might start seeing with their communities as well that are near them. So.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ballard. Any questions for Ms. Ballard? Anything? Thank you very much. Next one is on page 4, fraudulent corporate filings. I don't know if you guys have heard, and Senator Crago had a bill in this area, and I know that other people have had concerns. We've heard from our county assessor. I know the Secretary of State's office has been working very hard in this area, and I just put it in as a very open, broad topic, but I would yield to Senator Crago.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I actually don't have a whole lot to add, other than I think this is well deserving of an interim topic. I would note that I think it's also been proposed for select blockchain. And one of the reasons why, Mr. Chairman, that it's also been proposed over there is a lot of the players in this particular issue are either legislative members of that committee or attend those committee meetings regularly. And I know one of the things we want to look at is there are available technologies that other states use to actually ferret out this problem instead of relying on human reports or human information. There's technologies available. And so that committee deals with a lot of that stuff. So whether we take it up here, take it up there, either way, I'd be super grateful and thankful for that, because as you know, it's a problem for us back home. So I think we can deal with that later on where it goes, but definitely thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions for the senator? Thank you very much. So we've already done the next one, which is small water utilities, and the next one is civil penalties for pipeline violations. I'm on page 5 at the bottom. Repeal ban on cross-nomination. That would be Andy Craig is the contact information. Is Mr. Craig online or anywhere? Okay.
Not online, Mr. Chairman.
So the recommended priorities the committee should consider. The committee should consider reviewing the ban on minor parties cross-nominating major party candidates, also known as fusion voting, which had a history of use in Wyoming before it was banned. Similar bans have been the subject of recent litigation in other states on the basis of originalist free speech and free association arguments, First Amendment arguments. Anybody care to address this one? Anyone on the committee have any questions? Okay. The next one, 911 funding. We haven't done this before. There's nobody here on this one. Mr. Smolinski, welcome. I see you brought the big gun. I saw him somewhere. Mr. Smolinski, I haven't talked to you in a while.
Mr. Chairman, Nate Smolinski, CTO at YDOT as well as the statewide 911 coordinator.
You got the mic on?
I do.
Okay,
I'll
pull
bring
it
it closer though. Number one, I just want to thank this committee for the support. And really what we're looking to do here is just carry forth the effort. With the bill that did pass, we have some reporting that we want to be able to bring back to this committee. And I think the opportunity to be on the agenda to do so, I'm kind of looking at it. The first meeting will probably be fairly light. It'll be kind of early, but we'll be in the process of standing up the grant program. RFP process will be underway. That second meeting, I could see probably a little bit more meat that would take place there. Depending on where we are with the study, there could be an opportunity to entertain drafting possibly a funding bill if we have enough data at that time. It may be the third meeting, we may be able to nail that down. I'd say it's a little bit of an aggressive schedule, but that's going to be probably how we're going to try to go after this.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, aside from that, really kind of straightforward, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Smolinski? Go ahead, Representative Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. Since the last time we had spoke, were you able to make any headway or grounds on any of the inventory of the other 23 counties?
Mr.
Go
Chairman,
ahead.
we have had casual discussions, but Representative Weber, we're really looking forward to the study to capture that in a formal process. So that's not only going to tell us, hey, what do you have, but realistically, we'll be able to document everything to see not only the equipment they have, but what's the lifeline on it? Is it ready for replacement? Is it actually been replaced recently? So that kind of that information is going to go into place when we take a look at the grants as well. We don't want to be in a situation where we're being asked to upgrade something that could be part of the bigger picture.
Thank you. Representative Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Smolinski, a pleasure to see you again. So a study has been contracted or you have one underway or planned?
Mr.
Chairman,
Smolinski.
we were just approved to proceed on that recently. So we are in the process, meeting with our internal team to begin the RFP process.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Smolinski. Okay. Next topic, a complete review and expansion of Wyoming's Public Meetings and Public Records Act. Representative Yenna, this is Mr. Russ from Jackson. He brought this up. He was involved with this last year. Expected goal or result, a complete review and expansion of Wyoming's Public Meetings and Public Records Act. He suggests we look at the Texas Handbook on Public Meetings and Records. And Representative Yen, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Have you talked to Mr. Russ about this?
Mr. Chairman, I actually have not talked to Mr. Russ about it, but it is recently. So we did talk about it
Yeah.
the last time we had it on the interim topic list, and I think he's still interested in working on it if the committee is still interested in working on it.
Yeah, and just by everybody, just to kind of, Mr. Russ's position, I hope can straighten us out, but he wants a little broader look. He kind of thinks we need to kind of look like this rather than we've been looking like this with our proposed changes that we had last time. So he's suggesting we look to other states and really rewrite our act. So I throw that out there. Okay. Proposed interim topic, continuation of electricity discussion from 2025 interim with specific focus on electric reliability concerns and capacity constraints related to large electric loads. Contact person, Jody Levin. Ms. Levin, come on up. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jody Levin, I'm here on behalf of the Trona industry. This request comes to you from the Trona industry, the Wyoming Mining Association, Petroleum Association, and Americans for Prosperity. So we would ask that the committee continue its review of electricity, but as the topic indicates, specific focus on reliability and then capacity constraints for large loads. At the first committee meeting, we'd like the committee to actually spend some time with two experts. That's the North American Electric Reliability Corporation and the Western Electricity Coordinating Council. Those two entities are devoted to ensuring reliability and stability of the electric grid. And they have both recently issued reports that point to a potential looming risk for Wyoming, with shortages coming potentially as soon as 2028. So some of your industries are extremely vulnerable to electric reliability and power shortages. And kind of tip of the spear of that is the trona industry. Those operations cannot have disruptions to the power supply. Depending on the time of year, if there were a major disruption to the power supply, it could potentially be, I don't want to be overly alarming, but catastrophic to those operations. They could be offline for months, up to a year. So it is a growing concern for the industry. So we would appreciate the committee continuing their review of this topic.
And I think you can imagine that in the wintertime, if you have a plant that needs to be heated to process materials, have hot water and heated materials, and there's piping and there's boilers and there's all this stuff, you lose power in the winter. It could be catastrophic if under the, maybe not this winter, but other winters. So I think that's your point, right, Ms. Levin?
It is, Mr. Chairman. It is a concern. When we saw those two reports get issued and they start talking about power shortages as soon as 2028, that doesn't give us much time to find a solution.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Levin. Questions for Ms. Levin?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator
Ms.
Dockstader.
Levin, what's the employee count in the Trona patch now?
Employees,
Mr. Chairman and Senator Dockstader, about 2,400.
2,400. And how much severance tax and ad valorem tax do they pay? A whole bunch. Fair enough.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's a combined economic impact of close to $600 million annually.
And that's just one of the industries you talked about.
Yeah, that's just the Trona soda ash industry.
Yeah. And I'll just dig in a little bit. Ms. Levin, you mentioned capacity constraints related to large electric loads. We have communities in Wyoming where new loads aren't very able to come online. Laramie has been mentioned repeatedly that if you have any kind of medium-sized to heavy load, you cannot get service for an extended long time. That also affects economic development, all these things. So it's not just your clients, it's actually a little broader.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Levin.
Thank you.
Ms. Harpstreet, you're going to be up for deadline for municipal audits. How we doing?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ashley Harpstreet with the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. I think this topic would fold in nicely to some of the other things that this committee is potentially looking at. As everybody knows, we have a shortage of CPAs and auditors in the state, especially in our own Department of Audit. As someone that sits on the College of Business Board with the University of Wyoming, which thank you for funding that, because we have a great finance department trying to pump out the certified auditors. We're short. And so we are hoping as we figure out those career pathways and maybe get more in the pipeline, that we can look at giving them a little more time to get our audits done in a responsible way. Just so you know, some of the things that we're already working on is doing our own municipal finance program that helps the little communities with these, making sure if they have bad audits come back, trying to be proactive to figure out why they're having bad audits and help them navigate through that through our services. So this came from my clerks and treasurers, and they hope that you might consider that. I was trying to find the number. I know that there's a threshold. It's 4,000 and above. So that would be all your first class cities. 19 cities in our state all have independent audits. So they have to find different companies outside of the state audit department, which means if we have 99 communities, 80 of them are on rotation in the Department of Audit for the state to be like in a lottery, if you will, of when they get independently audited by the state. And I believe in public finance, roughly, we have about 8 full-time auditors. And I think the math that the directors told me that if they have someone full-time on an audit, they can do, and it's roughly, but it will give you an idea. So we have 80 audits that have to happen. And I'm just talking municipalities. We're not talking fire districts, special districts, counties, all the other things. It takes them 3 months to properly audit. So you have one auditor that could probably do 4 audits in a year times 8. So 32 audits. So they couldn't even get to all of my membership. So anything we could do to encourage the career pathways there, and also where we can help them make sure we're turning out good audits. That was something they felt like could help.
Okay, questions for Ms. Harpstreet? Any questions? Ms. Harpstreet, I'm looking, you have expected goal or result. The goal of this topic would be to modify WS 16-4-121 to move the deadline for municipal audits to March 31st. That seems like a very small result compared to the problem. I mean, I suspect you're thinking we could go farther if we wanted to. I'll throw it back to you.
Mr. Chairman, you're correct. I think this was something that was great, that was flagged as, an end piece of the puzzle from my clerks and treasurers, but that's why I kind of opened up with my testimony. This is systematic, and it would be a really interesting, I think, topic that we could try to solve for how can we come to the table better for audits, and what are we solving for? And I think it's just lack of auditors. One of the firms here in town that does public accounting is like maxed out. So if you lose your auditor, you're in big trouble.
Oh, we need more CPAs.
That's honestly the root cause, right?
Okay, anybody? Thank you, Ms. Harpstreet.
Make accounting fun again.
You bet. Proposed item topic, Wyoming designated health coverage options for low-income working adults. Contact person Jen Lowe, Healthy Wyoming. Is anybody here from Healthy Wyoming or online?
Online.
Let's try to get the online to work.
Ms. Lowe's joining us now.
Great, thank you. Good job.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Jen Lowe, Executive Director for Healthy Wyoming, and we have submitted this interim topic to the committee to take a deep dive into what insurance for healthcare options are available to low-income working adults in Wyoming. As a state with exceptionally high uninsured rates and with very expensive healthcare insurance, it's important that we look at all of the options that are out there and try to find a Wyoming solution to help low-income working adults afford healthcare insurance to take advantage of, hopefully, the rural health transformation funds and the improvements to access that are on the horizon. Thank you for the time today. Thank you for allowing me to participate virtually, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Lowe? Any questions? Ms. Lowe, you're looking at possible options. Do you have any ideas what they might be?
Well, I do know that based on comments from the Hospital Association and made on the floor, that perhaps there are state-sponsored plans. Perhaps, in other states, the co-op option has worked. I know that Mountain Health Co-op recently left our state, which does not bode well. But the fact of the matter is there's really only one insurance available to most people on the healthcare exchange, sometimes 2. But that's really not a competitive market when you have 1, possibly 2 insurance providers to select from. I do know that in the original Rural Health Transformation Plan, the Department of Health proposed a bear care or catastrophic type plan, which ultimately did not make it through committee. But I think looking at all of the options and really figuring out how to provide more affordable solutions for healthcare insurance is important to, bringing down our uninsured rate.
One last question. Our insurance lift is typically in property and casualty. We have a labor health committee. We've done some health stuff in the past, but have you also pitched it to them? And why do you think this committee's better than them? The labor health committee, I mean. I throw it to you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. Healthy Wyoming has also submitted a couple of interim topics to the Labor and Health Committee. We do hope to work with them as well. I do know that this committee in the past has talked about insurance issues, and I thought it might just be a good opportunity to spread this issue to different committees and have different lawmakers looking at the issues.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Any other
Appreciate you.
questions? Appreciate you. Thank you, Ms. Lowe.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Nonpartisan county offices, contact person, Representative Chestick. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an old friend, so some of you are probably familiar with it from prior go-rounds on this, so I won't take a lot of time, but I did propose this as a individual bill this session. It didn't get introduced, which is not that surprising given the 2/3 requirement. But I think it's much better as an interim topic because it's a fairly significant change to the way our local officials are chosen. And I think it deserves a good look and a good hard look by this committee. I'm proposing that all county elected officers other than commissioners would be elected in a nonpartisan election. The idea here is that these officers are skilled people. They need certain talents, certain skills, and they should be evaluated by voters on the basis of their ability to do the job and not based on partisan affiliation, because partisan affiliation doesn't really indicate whether you have the skill to do a good autopsy as a coroner, or whether you're a good investor as treasurer, or whether you're county clerks, for example, they run elections, they ought to be nonpartisan. So I have spoken with a number of county officials, and not surprising, they have a divergence of views on whether they should be nonpartisan or not. Many think that they would prefer to run in nonpartisan elections. I think we'd have more people willing to run for these offices because they have the skill set necessary to do the particular jobs. And if they didn't have to affiliate with a party, they might be more willing to actually run for office. So I think we'd have a better, wider selection of potential candidates for these offices. So that's the topic. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, questions for the representative? Any questions? Thank you very much, Representative.
Thank you.
Next topic, campaign finance, contact person, Senator Ed Cooper. Senator Cooper was here earlier. Is he close by? Tell you what, we'll just jump to the next one. We'll come back. It'll be okay. No heart attacks from old senators. We don't want that. Next one is registered agents fraud, contact person, Ann Lucas and Barry Craigle. Oh, there's the senator. Okay, we'll go time out. We'll go back and we'll take up campaign finance. Did you want anybody else with you at the table, Senator Cooper? Jen, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee. Ed Cooper, Senator District 20. Over the last couple of years, I've brought a couple of, I'm sorry, Jen Simon.
Welcome.
Introduce yourself.
Jen Simon, American Promise.
Thank you.
Okay, over the last couple of years, we've brought resolutions to the legislature regarding dark money and foreign money in our elections. It continues to be a problem. One of the things I'd like the committee to consider this year is the bill we brought up last year regarding limiting foreign money in our elections. We have I thought a pretty good bill passed, but Maine, the state of Maine had a similar bill and it got struck down. So we need to go back and look at our bills and make sure that our limits on foreign influence corporations are where they need to be, that we're not putting ourselves at risk of having our laws struck down. I'd like the committee, when they go through things, to consider bringing forward a resolution again. Jen, you want to speak a little bit about that?
Miss Sim.
Good to see you, committee, Mr. Chairman. What I would add to what the good senator said is that there have been, over the last 50 years, a number of pieces of legislation that states have brought to address their own campaign finance laws. And systematically, the courts have struck those down, removing the power of state legislators and legislators to determine your own state campaign finance laws. And so some good examples, as the good senator was saying, there was recently a case in the state of Maine where an a foreign corporation wanted to cut some old growth forest to put up a transmission line. In the process of doing that, there was a ballot initiative. They spent $100 million in that ballot initiative. The people of the state of Maine responded by passing a law to say foreign-owned companies can't spend money in ballot initiatives. The court struck that down, said that it was unconstitutional based on previous court precedent. So the question for this committee in the interim would be taking a look at all of the court cases to determine what you can do as a state legislature to control your own campaign finance.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Cooper.
we presented a similar presentation in front of, I guess there was a Republican study group in Washington, D.C. in June, and it was very well received. This is a nationwide issue. It's not getting any better. It's something that's going to have to be addressed, and we need to stay right in the middle of it year after year until we can get it addressed at the national level. But before it's addressed at the national level, we need to make sure that we've done everything we can as a state to protect our elections and our integrity as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Senator Cooper or Ms. Simon? Any questions? There's a kind of a related issue with respect to campaign finance in terms of people reporting their campaign expenditures. You have PACs that report their expenditures. You have candidates that report their expenditures. You have candidate committees that report their expenditures. Wyoming currently has 4 reports that are required. You have your pre-primary, and then your post-primary, and your pre-general, and your post. But some states actually require campaign financing or campaign reporting more throughout the year. And is that connected to your topic at all, or is it not, or what?
Mr. Chairman, I think anything regarding campaign finance is probably a fair game on this topic. There's been quid pro quo legislation in other states that's been struck down because it wasn't properly drafted, if you will. So there's just all sorts of things out there that we really need to take good hard looks at as far as campaign finance. There's a lot of issues, not just in Wyoming, but all across the nation. And I think we need to be a leader in trying to make sure that we have our campaign finance as clean as it can be.
Okay. So if I hear you right, I think you're saying kind of the first part is more educational, talking about what's happening in other states, maybe what Wyoming's laws are, and then see where that goes. Would that be accurate? Ms. Simon?
Mr. Chairman, I would say that would be a perfect interim topic because, gives you the opportunity to understand what's happening nationwide, what the courts have allowed states to do, and then consider what will work in this state in particular.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? Yes, Representative Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here. In your vision of what this study would do, would you also want to consider any of the other entities, maybe they're nonprofits or other funded groups that possibly get money from out of the country to come, and then those people or those groups also fund candidates throughout our state and nation?
Who wants to take that?
Representative Weber, that's exactly part of the problem is the dark money that comes in. We can't, because of Citizens United, we can't track it. So if there's things we can do to allow ourselves to be able to track some of that money, I think that's exactly where we need to go. Yeah. I don't think there's a person in this room that thinks that dark money or out of country money, foreign money belongs in our state elections. I just can't imagine that anybody would think that's a good idea. So let's see what we can do to identify what we can and prevent those kind of ongoing investments in our election, if you would.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for these two? Thank you both. We appreciate you. Now we're back to, is it Craig O. Lucas or Representative Lucas? Did you want to do this? Registered agents fraud? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I gave Senator Crago a headline on that one when in reality I didn't speak to him about this.
Okay.
I just want him to do all the work.
That's a
No,
great idea.
recently Senator Crago brought a bill to the Corporations Committee and we found it to be pretty engaging. And it was about registered agents and reducing fraud. And I know that the agency was also interested in this, but we just didn't have time to do it justice. This is a pretty big topic and deserves some quality time on discussion. And so I wanted to forward that to the committee for consideration.
Very, very good. Any questions? Any questions? Kind of fits with a little bit of some of the earlier ones we talked about too. So might be some packaging we could do there. All right. Okay. Senator Dockstader, development review and permitting procedures.
Mr. Chairman, I think.
Go ahead.
Wyoming Association Municipalities, they're going to step up as well. No?
Ms. Harpstreet, are you getting drug into this one? Willingly or not?
Want me to just jump in? Okay.
Ms. Harpstreet, do you want to take it or you want me to
Sure.
go back to the Senate? Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, Ashley Harpstreet, Wyoming Association of Municipalities. I'm trying to translate through my lobbyist, Mr. Bob McLaurin, what he submitted. It was House Bill.
He's right behind
There
you.
he is. House Bill 140, and it was a bill that we wanted to continue to discuss, and it was for third-party inspections to conduct and help the building permit reviews as we face a housing crisis. Instead of coming to you asking for how does the government get involved, we're asking to get less involved. And what can we do to cut red tape and work on regulatory reduction? And we felt like this was a really good idea.
Yep. Okay. Mr. McLaren, did you want to add on? Or are we catching you off guard?
I think she described it pretty well, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. McLaren, back to you, Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, we had that as running through the procedures in the House, but it didn't miss deadlines, so looking for an opportunity to hear it again.
Okay.
A little more refined this time, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions by the committee for the presenters? Any questions? Yeah, we did have the bill about speeding up the permits, right? And that made it all the way through. That's good. So
that bill passed.
Yeah, so it's not like this a new area. At one time, we approved the new building code, for example, at the state level. So that we've had some work in this area. So anything? Thank you both. We appreciate it.
Keep them here.
Oh, okay. We'll just keep them here for the next one because it's you again, Senator. Go back to you, Senator Dockstader. Recall of elected municipal officials.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Amendments.
Yes. Brought this back up. We started to jump.
Can you
into
pull
the-
that mic a little closer? I
We
think.
jumped into the topic this year, but we'd like to refine it further. And with that, I'll turn it over to our friends from the Association of Municipalities.
Ms. Harpstreet.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Dockstader, thank you for bringing this important discussion. It is currently on general file in the Senate, and so we will see if it makes that deadline today. If it does not, we kindly ask that you bring this back and look at it. Since it left the House chamber, just to catch your counterparts up to speed, they adopted a lot of our amendments that we brought in, and then the second half of the bill we were knowing needed work was the election process. We were able, under the guidance of your wisdom, Mr. Chairman, to work together with the Secretary of State, the county clerks, and a couple of our mayors that got into the weeds of making sure the election process will line up and not be too burdensome or expensive. Just as a reminder, the City Council for Cheyenne has 10 members, 9 council members and 1 mayor. So if they had to do special elections 10 times, $40,000 a pop, that could get really crazy. So I think we have a good product. We'll see how it wears in your chamber, but we hope if it doesn't, that we could come back and talk about it some more.
Okay. Anybody? Anybody? So this is a bit of a contingency, right? Based on what happens today.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I think you're off the hook. Representative Gugelmas, you're up for title deed fraud protection. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Currently, Wyoming does not have anything in place to protect from title deed fraud. And initially, I started approaching this by talking with my clerk, and it became clear through the conversation that that is too far downstream to try to do anything. By then, the process has already started of the fraudulent activity, so it would become a nightmare to try to stop it. So what you have before you is a plan. It's a white paper, and then a few pages in is an actual bill draft. And what that does is it would create another chapter in Title 34, and it would create another filing procedure that would be voluntary, that people could opt into to basically put their title in a locked position to where nothing could happen with that title unless they first release that lock. And that unlock would have to be in person or in a voluntary sense. But if it was an involuntary, there's procedure in this that would be for involuntary locks in case somebody dies or there is there's a foreclosure, so on and so forth. So we tried to get this to where you wouldn't have as heavy of a lift. It kind of gives you a structure and an outline to work from. And this would actually, there have been other approaches in other states that are actually reactionary. And this is a proactive, it gets it before it even starts, which no other state has gone this far. So we have a good chance here of actually leading the nation in title protection.
Okay, any questions for the representative? Any questions for the representative? Go ahead, Representative Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Guggenmoss. So this is an interesting concept. And what was your whole motivation for bringing this forward?
Representative Guggenmoss.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The title fraud issue has become an increasing issue. With the advent of AI, it's become exponentially more of a problem because it makes it even easier for these fraudsters to create false documents to impersonate you on paper and carry through with their fraudulent activity. So there's been a massive increase in that type of fraudulent activity.
So this would be things like where people sell a property they don't own, but they represent that they own the property and they have all the documentation to prove it and.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Representative Locke.
Thank you. It'll be quick. Thank you for bringing this. It's very important. You'll see it's on my list too. The representative before us actually was much more thorough. And I've actually had numerous calls from people in my district who it either have been affected or have had situations where they were afraid it had happened and they've gone through this process. So I've seen this increase very significantly in the last year and a half and been notified by this, but thank you for bringing it. It's a very important topic.
Okay. I want to get in the weeds on this one right away, and I'm just kind of curious. We don't need to really do this, but if your title is locked, then does that mean that no one can file a lien on it? Would that be accurate?
Mr. Chairman, there is provisions in there to where your involuntary transfers and liens are not interfered with.
Okay.
So
that fixes my problem because I'm wondering about that. So thank you. Good description. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Representative Larson had proposed proposed interim topic for develop the framework to reject frivolous and fraudulent filings. And is anybody here to assist him on that? I'll do my best. We'd heard from county clerks where people file all sorts of things, and then it's not just the county clerks, but it's also the clerk of court where they file. Say they put a lien on a judge's house, for example, and the clerks have to treat it as a real filing, and it causes issues to unwind, to really prove down the road that it's not real, that it was retaliatory perhaps, or didn't have any actual basis to be filed in the first place. And I was looking, I saw county clerks earlier, maybe, but I have heard from my county clerk about this issue. And she had worked, that's Clerk Julie Freese, she had worked with Representative Larson on this issue, and they felt that was important. So I'm doing a terrible job of flying the flag for it, looking for help. But maybe let's just take it. County clerks receive filings against public officials, including judges, from individuals without legal standing, stating that the public official owes them millions of dollars or for a perceived wrongdoing. These filings go into the land records and they're attached to the land records. They're permanent. As well, in a similar fashion, the Secretary of State receives filing such as using the UCC framework. The clerks of Secretary of State have the ability, the clerks or the Secretary of State have the ability or authority to reject such a filing. At least 27 states have the ability to reject these filings, to say, you know, you don't even meet the basics to actually be able to perform this filing. So that's it. Expected result, develop a framework that county clerks and the Secretary of State can use to reject frivolous and fraudulent filings. I'll throw that out when Secretary of State addresses us. Maybe he might want to circle back on this one or not. So any questions? I did the best I could. All right. Representative Locke, transparency for public dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is a topic we've kind of hit on the fringe of this a few times. And the issue here, and at least this has been brought to me by numerous constituents and groups. And the issue is within the public or public dollars within public entities, obviously reporting is very robust and it's all there. The issue is when it leaves the edge of that and starts hitting other organizations. The question is, how robust is that reporting? Is that reporting sufficient to understand where those dollars go? Maybe that's something. It's often been described in some cases, hey, do we need to have those entities reporting? Or maybe it's better reporting on that interaction to make sure that the reporting is thorough and people can understand how public dollars are being spent. But in my opinion, it's worth a deeper dive to make sure we find out, we make sure that we put the right protections in place so people know where their dollars are going. I guess that's the real key here. Maybe we're doing a good enough job and we need to explain it better, and maybe we need to look at how we're doing it and put additional protections in place. But that was my thinking of this particular topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Questions for Representative Locke? Any questions? Anybody else on that issue? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Representative Locke, we got you again. Public Service Commission support and enhancements.
Thank you.
Sorry, I would have, while those commissioners were here, I would have grabbed this one. You caught me off guard, but to you, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I've run some bills before, and basically this is looking for, are there places where we can put in better public protections for the people of Wyoming for rate increases and those kinds of things. And this is, again, I've run 2 or 3 bills over the last couple of years. I would like to revisit this and say, where can we continue to enhance our protections for our ratepayers? I know there's some other topics that are similar and on the edge of this, but I thought this continues to be an important topic worth us looking into. Thank you, sir.
Okay, questions for Representative Locke? Thank you, sir. Next one's yours too. Options enhancements for real property title protections.
I think Representative Gugumas nailed this much better than I did, sir.
Same thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next topic, public open records for nonprofits that represent government entities. Contact person, Mr. Ross Schiffman. Is he online? He's not here. I don't see him. I don't know who's the sponsoring legislator, but does anybody want to discuss this? Go ahead, Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll talk to this a little bit. I think this might be something that rolls into your broader public records conversation that you were having before. I think my gut is it'll roll in under there. I have talked with Mr. Schiffman, so I have a feel for where he's going with this. But I believe it probably rolls in. You've got that other broader topic. I think it's a good sub addition to that. So.
Okay, and Representative, it says there are Wyoming nonprofit organizations that have been acting as agents on behalf of local government entities. I assume that's probably a contractual representative, or maybe not. I don't know.
So I think in some cases it's his belief is, and I think we've seen some of this, is that it's possibly that 501s, for example, are acting in ways that one might argue on behalf of public entities, but one might argue that that action that it somewhat relates to the public dollar issue that I bring up.
Sure.
Where once money and activity crosses that line, it becomes harder to see how our public dollar is being used. So it's a little bit related to that, sir, if that helps a little bit.
It does. And anybody else jump in? When someone received money from the government, but they're a private entity, to reach into that private entity is kind of what you're suggesting, to get them to do the reporting that the government, if it was their expenditure, would have to do on their own. Is that
Mr.
fair?
Chairman, yes, that is accurate, sir.
Okay. Great. Ms. Erbekite, you're up next. I saw you. Oh, she's coming around the outside. There you go. Proposed interim topic, fraudulent liens. Does this kind of fit with what we were talking about with Representative Gugelmas? To you, Ms. Erbekite?
Mr. Chairman, Lori Erbekite with the Wyoming Realtors, it fits perfectly. And I'm excited that so many people are on this same topic and thinking about it, because it is a problem.
Okay. And so what's an example of a fraudulent lien?
Well, it's not just the fraudulent liens, but it's also, there's been all sorts of filings that have been, and I don't know that it's happening a lot in Wyoming yet, but I do think it's good to be proactive. But people, fraudulent documents saying that, with forged signatures saying that there's a loan or a lien against that property for a loan that never happened. It just a lot of bad things that can cloud the title and then take months and months to clear it up if you want to try and sell your property. But certainly fraudulent loans, all sorts of claims can be filed. Similar to what Clerk Julie Freese was talking about in Fremont County, that people can file, they have to record these things, whether they're real or not. And that's the whole issue.
Yeah, so that would be what Representative Larson was trying to.
Correct. I
Lloyd
think
Larson.
all of this would work in real well to a nice discussion this summer.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Erbekite? Any question? Thank you. I'm trying to think, but someone had talked to me about wanting to broaden this topic about people are actually misrepresenting themselves to using information that there is a home equity loan, for example, on your property, and then going to your bank and fraudulently, pretending to be you, probably electronically or in some manner, and then getting a draw on your home equity line. So they actually are accessing your credit because they go to the clerk's office, they see that there's a lien or a home equity, or there's a mortgage on your property, and then they figure out it's got some room on it, and they go and draw on it. Can you imagine? People are really getting pounded, I'll tell you. So that, Ms. Erbekite, does that fit within the realm a little bit? All right, thank you. Any other on this issue? Okay. You're up again, Representative Locke, duties of registered agents amendments.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, this is a dupe. Again, this is the one we hit. That was the Senator Craigle bill and the
Gotcha.
issue we really want to address. Thank you.
Great. Senator McEwen, proposed interim topic, whole county apportionment for the Wyoming House of Representatives. Who would like to address this? We did have a bill on this. And it made it, was tabled in the Senate committee, but it was an amazingly interesting conversation whereby we could potentially, according to the proponents, meet both the Wyoming requirements regarding representation by more in a county way, not 100%, but much more than we do now because we just ignore that. But at the same time, meet the federal requirements about one person, one vote. And the essence of it is you would do it by having multi-member districts encompassing in many counties. And so they had looked at the population of counties, and this is totally made up. It's not just an example, but say you took Cook and Weston, you put them together, maybe, and you could have 3 representatives between them that they would elect. And it's, and the representatives would serve at large. They wouldn't be tied to a particular single member district. So we heard that. I think the committee was, I mean to speak for the committee, but I think we thought it had some merit and we could kick it down towards the interim. Anybody else wish to weigh in on that? Did I do okay? Okay. Representative Yen.
Mr. Chairman, thanks. I didn't get to see that bill because it didn't come over to the other side, but I did just look at it just now, and it was interesting how some of the counties were lumped together. So Park and Teton just seemed kind of, it's easier for me to drive to Rock Springs than it is for me to drive to Cody. So if we do that, we probably need to look at how those counties are lumped together for sure.
Yeah, and Representative Yen, I think that that one was talked about as well as there was some, Ms. Simmons, you can come right up, as well as some discussion about maybe having Sheridan combined with counties over on the other side of the Bighorns. But they thought most of that was kind of manageable. So Ms. Simmons, I throw it to you.
Mr. Chairman, I had some
introduction.
Gail Simmons from Civics 307. Thank you. I had a few conversations after that with Apollo Pizzell, who has the really in-depth knowledge about that. And I had pointed out that Sheridan and Johnson together makes more sense, and then grouping people in the basin. They ran through their little tool that they have, and not only does it work well, it would actually reduce, I think, by 1 or 2. It would keep us within the same number of representatives that we currently have. So it actually works really, really well. And just as a long-term, the idea of multi-member districts and having better representation instead of an all or nothing, I believe that the conversation was about using this interim to get more knowledgeable about what this means. It's called, I think, the Jefferson method. And it's used in Germany and other places, but it is such a great way to look at the way in which we represent. So acknowledge this interim and maybe looking deeper into how that could work in Wyoming at the following.
Fair enough. So everybody, it's not a redistricting year for us, so it's an opportunity to think out of the box a little bit. I think that would be the suggestion.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Simmons? Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Proposed interim topic, unlimited liability company, Representative Singh and David Pope of the CPAs. Anybody here to talk about that? Anybody know about that? Here, let's just read it. I am suggesting considering of creating a new Wyoming entity, the unlimited liability company, based loosely on a Canadian entity choice. Wyoming has an estimated 40,000 sole proprietorships. These businesses are limited in tax elections because they have no structure. A ULC, unlimited liability company, could be a great intermediary step between a sole proprietorship and an LLC. The structure would allow for easier estate planning and business sale. Now, I know that's as much as I know. So any questions? You're out of luck for me. But anybody wish to address that? Okay, maybe you'll hear more from someone there. The next one is, I think from Representative Smith, proposed interim topic, Wyoming Choice Electric Program. Anybody here to talk about that? Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll speak to that a little bit. This was a bill that Representative Scott actually brought up and, or Smith brought up this year. And the concept is similar to what you guys have experienced with gas. And the concept and the bill was kind of, can we start taking that approach to create maybe a potential competitive market on the electric side? So it's obviously in the very early concepts and thoughts there. That bill never came forward, and really because it was not ready. But at the end of the day, I think it is a good interim topic to take a look and say, does it make sense?
Okay. Possibly as part of a broader topic on electricity, get a little update.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Representative Thayer, Fire Suppression Code Review for Commercial Buildings. Representative Thayer, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. We're going to go back on the topic kind of relative to the third-party inspections, fast tracking permits, just being pro-business for our state. This would be a code review on fire suppression and life safety requirements for commercial buildings. It could include multifamily, mixed use, but I want to be really clear, this is not single-family residential. This is commercial buildings. By reviewing the best needs for our counties, cities, and towns, and the topic would evaluate the balance, statewide consistency, and local control. There's a lot of new fire suppression systems out there that are coming on the market that are getting proven that are safe. I think it could be a tool, but number one, by reviewing, we want to ensure the public safety while making sure there's unnecessary barriers that are put in place, again, without compromising life and safety. So just a code review of commercial buildings.
Okay. Questions for the representative? Questions? So I'm a licensed building contractor, and I'm very interested in kind of what you're talking about in terms of whether you're required to sprinkle or whether you have alternatives. I mean, is that kind of what you're getting at? Those kind of issues. And I know there are new fire suppression systems. I'm not really familiar with them. Some people would like to see residential fire suppression be mandated. So I'm opening it up to you to kind of give it you're very knowledgeable about this. I'm not sure how, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not sure I surround myself with good people, first of all. But it is about commercial buildings and not going into the residential and fire suppression. But there are new technologies, new things out across the United States and internationally that are fire suppression that maybe use the tap line. They don't have to put a special line in. And I think there's a cost. I think we all want safety in our communities and our downtowns, but at what cost? And so I just think that it's a chance to go through and look at some of these new systems for economic development, community development.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Representative Webb, it's another one on Public Records Act revisions. Contact person Parker Jackson, the Goldwater Institute.
Mr. Chairman, Parker Jackson is online.
Let's hear it. Thank you. I'm wondering if this is the Parker Jackson that used to be in Wyoming. It is. All right. Welcome, Mr. Jackson. He was one of Foster's Outriders.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Jackson.
Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it is a little bit of deja vu all over again, Mr. Chairman. We did go through this round once with the Outriders several years ago. I'm now a staff attorney with the nonprofit Goldwater Institute, and I do live in Lyman. We litigate public records issues all over the country. And we join with the chorus that you've heard already, that there's just still some lingering deficiencies in Wyoming's public records laws that need to be addressed. Our two biggest issues, and then we've sent you a letter on this during the interim, but we really do think there needs to be something done about the fees that are being charged to Wyoming residents for access to their public records. And this is largely information, minus stuff that's redacted, that they have a right to access. And our position is, as long as that's being produced in an electronic form, that there shouldn't be a charge for that. And then if there's physical copies, obviously there can be print fees and stuff like that. But we'd really like to see the committee address the fees that are being charged. There were kind of two routes of doing that. Obviously, this committee remembers Senate File 49, which was the product of the interim work. There was also another bill introduced in the House, I believe it was House Bill 151, that would have been a little narrower and just targeted the fees and not gone into some of the other topics that we addressed during the interim. The second priority on our end is clarifying that reasonable attorney fees should be recoverable if a requester has to go to court to get records. That's not currently spelled out in the Public Records Act. There is obviously the civil penalty that's there. We don't have strong feelings on that one way or the other. And I know there was a discussion between the Press Association and some of the other stakeholders regarding timelines. We don't have, a strong position on specific timelines, other than we do think it's a good practice we've seen in other states, that there should be a requirement in the statute for records to be produced promptly. And then that leaves some room for a judge to figure out, well, what does prompt mean under specific circumstances? If it's a one-page document and it's taking months to produce, that might mean something different than if it's a large commercial request that's taking that long. So, and just point you back on, I know there was some discussion raised in the interim on, burdensome out-of-state commercial requests. We think that there's some room for discussion on how to address that. Other states, including Arizona, have distinguished between commercial and non-commercial requests for purposes of fees and production and those types of things. So just to reiterate, it's an important topic. It's not going away, and we hope that the committee will continue to take it seriously.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Questions for Mr. Jackson? Any questions? Congratulations on becoming an attorney and being a job. I haven't seen you in several years. Good to see you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You bet. Representative Yin, mandatory insurance fraud reporting.
Mr. Chairman, if Ms. Smith is not around, I'm happy to talk about it. So
Is she online?
She is online.
that'd be great.
Let's go online.
Ms. Smith is joining us now.
How are we doing, Ms. Smith? You made it.
Yeah.
Good. Hello.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Marion Smith. I am Director of Strategy, Policy, and Government Affairs for the National Insurance Crime Bureau. I'm actually a Wyoming gal. I reside in Laramie, and I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today, but thank you, Representative Yin, for accepting this challenge. We bring forward to you the issue of mandatory insurance fraud reporting. Your committee spoke about it a couple years ago. We have since then the benefit, I guess, of being last, as the good chairman knows from the NCOIL meeting in the latter part of last year. They have now adopted a new model of insurance fraud reporting. Wyoming remains only one of 2 states in the United States that does not have laws to protect consumers regarding insurance fraud. And why is it so important? It's not victimless. It's costing you and I and your constituents between $4,000 and $7,000 over a period in insurance premium costs. Obviously, fraud keeps getting more and more nifty. And by reporting fraud, it is certainly obviously an important consumer protection tool that shines a light on the fraudsters who would otherwise continue to prey on Wyomingites that are very vulnerable, storm chasers. We've seen inflated billing was just added to the new Model Act law. So we would like you all to, again, take a look at this. It fits very nicely under what has become, from what I'm hearing, a very large umbrella of consumer fraud and protection that I believe is an elegant interim topic for your committee. And with that, we also will stand ready. We have a very robust data analytics center. We'll be happy to provide you information when it comes to the registered agents bill. We fully support taking a look at that. I can tell you that we are currently investigating a significant number of fraudulent LLCs in the state to the north of us that are being filed primarily with foreign adversaries based on the East Coast, title washing stolen vehicles, high-end stolen vehicles through LLCs and registered agents. And so we stand ready to help you, the committee, with everything regarding fraud, and particularly we really need insurance fraud reporting on our books within statute. Since we met, we've been working very closely with industry. I know that if you can recall, we had topics about making sure that there are immunity laws. It's very common, and without speaking for my counterparts, we will certainly come to you with a game plan and a good bill.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any questions for Ms. Smith? Just point out the NCOIL folks, they were here last year. In the Senate, we pursued an amendment on the feed bill to try to join NCOIL, the National Conference of Insurance Legislators. And so we lost by a couple of votes. It was pretty close, actually. By the time the House moved very fast on that bill, but I do understand that NCOIL will be at our interim topics, Management Council interim topics assignment meeting. And at that point, they'll make the pitch that Management Council encourages to join NCOIL. We could certainly use this NCOIL Model Act as the basis for getting started on this topic. And that might be a good way for us to proceed. Anything for Ms. Smith? Anything on NCOIL? Ms. Smith, thank you very much. Good to see you. Saw her at NCOIL. All right. That's the end of the ones there, but we have Senator Steinmetz. You have one. Would you like to lead us through it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is an old friend. I've run it a couple different times. It's the Large Energy Project Funding Program. It would require a bill just like you see in the Omnibus Water Bill or the large project funding through the Wildlife Natural Trust Fund. And the Omnibus Water comes from the Water Development Office through the Select Water Committee. In seeing these large energy projects across the state, the SLIB meetings have been well attended by citizens wanting input in these processes. I believe this bill process would do two things. It would allow legislative input for projects that are utilizing state funds, and it would also provide the public more opportunity to have a say in energy policy across the state, especially where tax dollars are being expended. So that is the proposal, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to present it, and the bill is attached to the brief summary.
Great. Any questions for Senator Steinmetz? Any questions? Thank you, Senator. Okay, we've gone through our list. Mr. Secretary, do you want to address the committee on we'd love to have you. Come on. And if there are any other agencies, the PSC was here earlier. We're certainly, Mr. Irvin, we'd like to hear from the clerks, I would imagine. So good to see you, Mr. Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we had a couple things we wanted to chat with the committee about on the interim. One was business fraud. We've had a number of different submissions. We want to be helpful on that. This is something we really want to do with you. Requested it the previous 3 years and are excited that we got it a little bit advanced the ball in 2024, but would like to do another wave in 2026 and look forward to working with you on that. Definitely would like to meet with Ms. Smith. I think that's very important, what she just laid out. I have not heard from her yet, but we're going to reach out to her today. I think
Great.
just asking Mr. Crossman to do that. And then on elections, I really would appreciate if we could have sort of another blanket round. I submitted with Representative Heft a few different ideas, things we would like to revisit. One is requiring pen and paper ballots for elections. This is part of President Trump's executive order of April 25th of 2025. The AC is working on implementing that executive order. So really it's about alignment with that EO and possible Election Assistance Commission action. I also think there's a chance there's another executive order coming on this topic. So I think it's important we get in alignment with removing the barcodes. I really think we need to do that. And there's widespread agreement on that. There's products that are coming down the pipeline so that you can continue to have a ballot marking device, but also have it print out a ballot with ovals filled, and the ovals are casting the ballot just like the other 22 counties that are using pen to paper ballots. So you don't have to necessarily get rid of the ballot marking device to comply with the pen and paper ballot requirement. But the point is to get off the barcodes, which of course no human being can read unless somebody can volunteer and prove me wrong on that if they're able to. The next one is banning ballot harvesting. We're at about 33 states that have done this. I really think we need to get this to the finish line. Failed introduction by a couple votes. Okay, it was a budget session, but I really do think there's majorities in both chambers on this. I actually think the committee bill was pretty much there. We had pretty big carve outs for homebound situations, also assisted living. And I think that bill was pretty much there, but I think we could give it another shot and get it in a general session. I think we get it to the finish line and have Wyoming join the over 30 states that have this ban in place. The other one is hand verification of ballots in Wyoming. We've got a couple bills still out there on it, but the Haraldson approach, which I hope makes it through the process here in this session for implementation in 2028. I think we had the framework there, and that candidates could request that recount with a certain deposit, which increases based on the margin of victory in the race, and certain automatic situations where you could have that hand verification. And so I think we need to continue. Obviously, we got two bills in action on that, but I think no matter what, there's going to be some issues down the pipeline on that. So those were the big ones, but I'd appreciate more of a blanket thing. So maybe we could do a presentation at the first meeting like we've done in the past and lay out our recommendations. And obviously it's subject to a bill drafting motion, but I think not having sort of a blanket election review would be an error in my deep opinion in a general session interim. So I'd request that we have that.
Great. Any questions at this point?
Thank you.
And did you have any corporate stuff? Do you want to jump on that right now?
Yeah, I think we just want to engage with you on these ideas. We're interested in the Crago framework. We think there's some on foreign adversaries, some work that needs to be done around that, around expanding that to terrorist organizations that we'd like to do with you, and also drug cartels, which we need to broaden that language a little bit on that. And then third-party filers, which was a bill that came out of the 24 working group, making sure that they register with our office, and looking at registered agents in terms of the individuals that are filing documents with registered agents, ensuring that they're real people. Those are our big three sort of categories, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and Mr. Secretary, I've heard that some states have developed software that is helpful in rooting out fraud. I don't know much about that, but is that something you might be able to help us with thinking about?
Oh, thank you for that. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing that up in a corporation setting. I mean, this goes back to the 2024 legislative session when we made a request for that software, and the Appropriations Committee just would not approve it. And if you want to go into legislative history on that, I'm happy to. I could do it now, or we could do it in a meeting, or I could do it privately with you. It's very unfortunate. And that is something that we would like to bring to the finish line. You know, obviously that's a budget request, but there's a couple different products out there. There's the Acuity product that we currently use, and the upgrade, the enhancement that they have, and almost all of their clients have the enhancement. I think we're one of 2 now that does not have that. And that would include an address verification. They have a whole system, and we could go through what that looks like, but it's really too bad that the Appropriations Committee did not agree to that. We had a great deal queued up. We were getting it for 25% of what Pennsylvania got it for, and we had more volume than they did. And they said, well, they wanted an RFP. Well, the RFP was going to cost $8 million. It was going to cost double. And they just, $8 million was too much for it. We had it for 2.5. So it's unfortunate what happened. We could have added up by now, but yeah, that's one of the things we could discuss.
So that could be a tool. Mr. Co-Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Because we are prioritizing, I just wondered if you could give some thought to your feelings on the ULC by Representative Singh, that proposal.
That was a new corporate form that would fit for sole proprietorships.
The unlimited liability company. Yep.
We're still evaluating our official position on that, but Mr. Crossman has some thoughts about it, in terms of what it does.
So just as a high level discussion of what it does, it would be a similar to a LLC where you have an incorporation, except it's basically an incorporated sole proprietorship. It wouldn't really have a ton of effect on Wyoming law. The reason why you would use it is because the IRS has some aspects where sole proprietorships are treated poorly for federal taxation purposes. So, but if you have an incorporated entity by a state and you move everything in there, then you can take advantage of some business taxation rules that make it a little easier, but it doesn't have to have a different legal title for the state purposes. So that's why it's called an unlimited liability company. So you're not shielding anybody for anything. It's purely a corporate form to ease federal tax filings.
So it's not, I think I get it. It's totally a tax vehicle. You can take advantage of federal tax rules with respect to corporations, basically.
Yes, sure, Mr. Chairman, correct. It doesn't provide any, so typically you want a corporate form for a legal shield and tax purposes. This is a corporate form that dispenses with the legal shield and provides only the tax purposes.
Anything? How about you, Senator Boner?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to the discussion about the software upgrade, I mean, would you say as a potential replacement to say that something like the Crago bill, where we did go back and forth, because it seems like we're given a binary choice between choosing, preventing fraud, and then of course we're compromising some of the privacy in order to do so. I'm wondering if we had a software upgrade, would that be a potential way of, combating fraud without compromising privacy?
Mr. Secretary, thank you, Senator Boner.
Mr. Chairman, it is, I think, an approach that could strike the right balance. I think the Crago approach also could in certain iterations, but I think it is an approach that could get there. I want to engage in that conversation with you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, could I add on to that?
Mr.
real quick?
Rubino, welcome.
And it goes back to, Mr. Chairman, your question, but I think Senator Boner really pulled it out. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I do think this is the committee of jurisdiction for our office, the committee of primary jurisdiction for our office, is definitely the proper place for discussion of both statutory tools and also system upgrades, because I think that they go part and parcel together. There have been recent discussions going back, I think, almost a decade now, about, well, not almost a decade, I'm exaggerating, but 6 or 7 years now, about placing filings on the blockchain. And that has become something that has taken on, I think, a life of its own. And so that's why I think this is the proper committee where we can actually discuss statutory changes, but also our existing filing system without, I think, going down a completely different road and a completely different policy decision, which is something like engaging with UW, which is what's been proposed by the other committee, the blockchain committee.
Fair enough. I can read that one. Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just curious about your auditing capabilities and if you have any of those functions within your office regarding business fraud or foreign adversaries, what capabilities do you have? And then, I mean, does any of that exist within your office now?
Mr. Secretary.
Yes, we do conduct audits, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Crossman and Mr. Rubino to talk about. And one of the things we announced before the legislative session is where we're going with our audits in the future.
Mr. Crossman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess I'm going to take that question in two different senses. In the first sense, we do audits of registered agents. These are audits for form and compliance to procedure. They are not what one might call an in-depth audit, the way a banker might think of it. So one concern is that if we are auditing, if we're required to audit in an in-depth fashion, no, I don't believe we have that capacity. If we are auditing in the fashion that we have right now, which is making sure that registered agents are fully compliant with the statute, and only that, we have the capacity to do that, absolutely. But if we are actually having to go into detail as to whether or not the material that they have is accurate, that more than just a superficial, yes, this is an address. Yes, this address is not an address of a like the ranger station or something. Then no, we would probably need more staff for that.
Okay, thank you guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, one other on the elections, poll
You bet.
watchers.
Go right ahead.
Poll watchers and the drop boxes. We really think that's two other areas. And the poll watchers, we really need to get some of these issues handled in the code. So I just wanted to put another elections item on your radar.
Great. Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Questions? Thank you. Thank you much. Okay, we're just about out of time, but I would certainly allow preference to Commissioners Association, Clerks Association. Have we missed anything? Mr. Downing, we'll get you too. Want to be, and then the goal here is we're just going to leave this room and you guys will, so we do top 6 or something, top 5, top 6, something like that in a ranking. You give it and you turn it in. Mr. Irwin.
Mr. Chairman, Malcolm Irvin, Platte County Clerk and President of the Clerks Association.
I thought that was over.
Short time. Very quickly, Mr. Chairman, as you consider ranking, it's clear that there will obviously be some topics that involve county clerks. We would urge you to select at least one that doesn't involve our offices. Electricity sounds like a great option at this point. And the reason I say that, Mr. Chairman, is and not because we don't enjoy advancing the ball with your committees, but because we'll be doing some election administration this summer, so we'll be a little bit tied up in our focus elsewhere. And so we're obviously going to participate and be as much of a resource as possible, but I would ask that the workload be moderated somewhat in terms of the functions of our office. That would just be a plea we would have before you make your rankings.
Thank you. Very good. Anybody else? Okay, yeah. Ms. Frank and Mr. Downing, come on up. And I know you're not on the same subject, but you'll be close by. Ms. Frank, I turn it to you. And you're the one that reminded me about the HELOC. So
Yes,
I'm
thank
going to
you,
turn it over
Mr.
to you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did want to address 2 issues, Mr. Chairman, Bobby Frank. On behalf of Wyoming's credit unions, especially as you contemplate ranking the priority of the topics, 2 issues probably fits most appropriately in the discussion about the property deed fraud. As Mr. Chairman alluded to, recently our credit unions brought this issue to me, that they are seeing a significant increase in fraud occurring on folks that get HELOC loans, home equity line of credit. And the fraudsters are able to obtain that information because we file our security interest and liens on the property, and the name of the financial institution is published. We have had fraud laws as a result. One of those is currently with law enforcement right now. So I would suggest that in this bigger conversation of fraud on property title deed, that get couched in there. The second is the property deed fraud issue has also been raised as a concern. Last year, the speaker asked me about that issue, so I did some preliminary research. And we do have counties in Wyoming that are offering alert services. So you can sign up, and if anybody starts messing with your deed, you get an alert. You also, I learned in this county, can request that your name be redacted on your property for those published online. Now, I could still go to the county and look up your property, Mr. Chairman, and find that information, but there is that option. Unfortunately, not all the counties offer that. So when you talk about this property deed fraud issue, I'd like to encourage you to also evaluate the ability to support the counties to offer that service statewide. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Question for Ms. Frank. Thank you. Dovetailed well. Mr. Downing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jonathan Downing on behalf of Wyoming Press Association, with some of the discussion about public records. Just want to take a couple moments to offer up an idea, realizing you have 20 pages of interim topics to consider and prioritize. With last year's bill and the great deal of time that the committee took, and we appreciate all of that time over last year's interim, we did arrive at some consensus in principle with a number of the organizations that you've heard from on the issue. Going into this session, not to speak for all those organizations, but as far as our members of the Press Association, visiting with counties, visiting with municipalities, we have been very close to a solution on that as far as from a legislative perspective. Having worked with the representative from Goldwater, have a level of trust there in what they bring to the table as well, and what our commitment would be is that if you want to consider it, we were very close to having an individual bill versus taking up the large amount of committee time that's taken. If it's something where you'd like to see the industry come forward and the stakeholders come forward with a proposed bill, what I'd propose just as far as posit to the committee for your consideration is that we would just have an update if you're ending up doing 2 or 3 meetings this year, do a mid-meeting update of here's what's for your consideration. That takes into consideration all the concerns that have been put on the table and would seek to, at least for now, I believe that we have an agreement in principle which addresses the issues with timeline, with penalties, the attorney's fees. I believe some of those pieces are already in statute that have been referenced earlier in testimony. And mainly in the interest of time with what you have on the table, not wanting to take away from the work that had happened last year, but with all that.
Got to wrap it up.
You did get everybody's attention.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Downing? Thank you very much, sir. So with that, we'll, Mr. Co-Chairman, I'll yield to you.
Just as a matter of process, if we could have staff maybe email out a priority list to each member, because I know there's like 4.
I think she's got one right there, but we could email it as well.
And consolidate, because there's 4 public meetings. There's 7 or 8 on fraud. If we can consolidate those so that it's more concise.
You bet. And maybe pick your top 5 or 6 in order, what you want first. Let's number your most important priority, number 1, and work from there. Okay? Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.